Hello, and welcome to the spookiest season of the year, ARKTOBER 2024. My name is Noah.
And my name's Gavin. Just plain old Gavin. Can't really do any actions this time of year. It's just a little bit different this year more than any year. So I'm just here, happy to be here, and ready to talk some scary stuff there. Yep.
Okay, so Gavin's not playing along, but I was gonna say you thought you were gonna make it through the month without a visit from your two favorite brothers chatting about scary stuff. It is, in fact, October 2024. We've been doing some stuff on the social media front. We've had Mr. Sunshine Mayfield deliver his annual 20 horror films you probably haven't seen updated list for 2024 on the site.
Ooh.
We had that out there. A little artist by the name of nARK and doing some spooky videos and music over on the YouTubes, part of the ARK of E records. Hopefully people are checking that out. There's been stuff, but I think there might be just a handful of people that might have been excited for this because we do tend to do it every year. But this is our what we've been screaming about. It's time to talk about what we've been watching for our respective Arctober marathons. And of course, that is the month of October, where we do nothing but watch horror films, with very few and rare exceptions, which I don't know, you might have some in there. Uh,
I've been faithful this year because I'm thinking this is probably the last year I can do this like full bore. A lot of watching
Probably.
stuff after people go to bed. A lot of like, oh, I'll catch it
Well,
on my phone.
to this degree, because as you know, listeners may know, we mentioned this episodes months and months ago. But Gavin's a Faja now, of
Hmm.
an eight month old.
Yes, and as of yesterday,
That's
8 months.
that's crazy to think about. But yeah, so I think what you've got on deck for next Arctober is something we've never really explored, which is going to be the just bevy of kid related spooky stuff that's out there
Yeah.
now, which it's like there's so much animation
Mhm.
wise, etc. So he'll be hitting right around two. We can definitely shove some stuff in front of his face that's semi appropriate, but still works for October. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it
Oh
out.
yeah.
And to that point, I mentioned nARK doing some music stuff over on YouTube. I wanted to tease this. We're obviously going to be coming back with our annual year-end wrap-ups for albums, TV shows, and movies. Of course, of course. And I think we definitely got to try and make time in November to that's just some housekeeping at the top. We're going to get spooky, I promise. Okay. Um, I think we definitely have to stake this down and we got to set aside time for it. We got to do something when Cobra Kai is fully finished.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I don't know if you just saw, but the poster at least has released for Karate
Mm,
Kid Legends.
yeah,
We
that
still
looked
don't really have any full
interesting.
details on how that works or fits into everything. But yeah, I feel like we gotta hit Cobra Kai as it's wrapping up in November. So we'll try and hit that, and then we'll be into our year-end stuff. All of that being said, um, obviously we've been way more sporadic with the pod this year, with Gavin being a new dad, and that's only going to get more and more complicated. And we've had, some fill-ins from some other dads, Mr. Evan Toohey
Hmm.
notably, but he's going to be hitting that phase soon as well. And Tim is, they're about to be even busier. And yeah, it's just getting more and more hectic for people who can hop on. Bear may be back on here eventually, and of course the incomparable Brendan Reilly. But I haven't had a chance
Oh,
to
dude,
talk to
I got
you.
it. I got it.
Oh, go ahead.
Three
Sorry.
three dads and three dudes. You, Brendan, and Barham. Me, Tim, and Evan. It's a semi-monthly, once a month, maybe once every 3 months. Just sit down and it could be the three of us being like, "Oh,
Well,
you're
I
doing that now? Oh
okay.
yeah,
I like that. Just a party pod that we try and
yeah,
do something monthly. But and I wanted to say that basically, like, I want to obviously keep the main feed going, etc. But I I'm saying this now. It probably will not be a thing until 2025, probably in January. But be working behind the scenes on some of this stuff. Haven't had a chance to talk to you about it. But we will be launching the ARK of E Network YouTube page, and we
Oh,
will
good.
be having a lot more visual content, video essays, uh, syncable commentary tracks, that sort of thing. Uh, we'll have actually, the Zoom that we're doing, for instance, right now, throw
Hmm.
up there. People want to look at our faces, that sort of thing. But something that'll give us a spot to do some more long form stuff that we can work on that are just like, hey, here's things we want to explore. And there can be series within that. But I think that's something that I can kind of support solo and do stuff on a regular basis, and
Yeah,
then we still have
totally.
the pod going. So look forward to that, people. Stay tuned. We'll have links in future show notes for where you can check out all that stuff. But that is a forthcoming project. We're going visual. Everybody switched to video years and years ago, and in true ARK of E fashion, we're late to the party. But I think
And
that's going to be a thing for next year.
it
Uh,
just hit me too. If we can't nail Brendan because he's so unreliable, we could call it three dads, two dudes, one podcast. Boom. Three, two, one. There you go. It's that simple.
okay.
But
I
it's
like
assuming these other dads can.
That's see, I was trying to come up with something that's like involves less coordination with
Hmm.
multiple people.
Yeah.
But by all means, yeah, let's try and get six people on a podcast on a regular basis. I'm sure that's totally,
Five, six,
totally doable.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, anyways, I think that is all of that stuff out of the way. I can't even remember what the last pod was. We
We
did
were catching
Dune.
up on what
I
yeah.
we taught
Summertime,
we did the boy. You and I did the boys and the bear,
Civil War,
and yeah.
while we were watching
Uh,
TV. I think, yeah, TV was probably the
Evan and
last
I
one.
did Shogun and Tokyo Vice.
Right.
But yeah, it has been a minute indeed. But yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got to come back for Cobra Kai for sure. And of course, you'll hear about all the TV and movies and music and stuff that we didn't cover on the year-end episodes. But for now, back to the matter at hand, October 2024. So I had what I like to call some September appetizers, some
Okay.
some little bites, some just one fang out protruding.
Okay.
Not both of them yet.
That's fair.
Uh, okay, so I'm gonna just hit you with those like super quick, and then I
Okay.
figured we can go chronological. I thought about dividing it into rewatches versus new stuff, but I think we just work our way to like where we are in the month
Yeah.
chronological, and we just trade back and forth on days. But I'm gonna hit you with my September stuff. Just boom,
Okay.
boom, boom. The Watchers, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. I'm so sorry I don't have her name at the tip of my tongue, and I don't want to confuse it with the other one who is in Trap, but she directed The Watchers with Dakota Fanning. It's on HBO Max. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Hmm.
Chime, which is a short film, an NFT actually, from Kiyoshi Kurosawa, director who I am currently obsessed with. Watched a lot of his that I had not seen. Uh, but you just got to search for it on Google. It's not like nobody's ripped it to YouTube yet, but if you just search for Chime
Hmm.
2024, it's about 40 minutes long. Pretty fantastic. Don't want to tell you anything about it. Just kind of go in cold. This is the guy who did Pulse, the original Pulse,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember
and
that one.
a movie called Cure, which I watched for the first time, which is probably, I feel like the one he's more known for at this point and is kind of uh, I don't know. It's going through one of those renaissance where everybody's like, "Oh my God, have you not seen Cure?"
Hmm.
And I think newly added to the Criterion collection as well. So that was also on my September appetizers. Fantastic. Enjoyed both of those. Rewatch Beetlejuice in preparation for Beetlejuice in the theater. I watched The Deliverance on Netflix. Did you watch this one?
I don't think so.
This was Lee Daniels' horror picture. You might have seen it memed a bit online.
Oh, is that the one with
With
Glenn
the
Close?
Yes, exactly.
Nah, I didn't watch it.
So yeah, I kind of it was a simultaneous like morbid curiosity and also a like kind of like Lee Daniels, like Precious. It was a one and doneer. But did you ever see The Paper Boy?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wild fucking movie. And I
Oh,
was like,
definitely.
if it's in that mode, I'm I'm very interested. Um,
What about the Butler?
it's a movie. I never saw The Butler.
Me
I'm
neither.
mainly basing it on The Paperboy and how
Yeah.
batshit crazy that movie was. But yeah, one of those that I think was not as maybe camp and bad as I had been led to believe that it was. And weirdly just a movie that I was thought was incredibly effective and didn't really need the supernatural element to it. If anything, it kind of detracted from it.
Hmm.
But anyways, uh, that was all right. In theaters in September, I saw what might be my favorite horror movie of the year. I don't think you got to this one. You'll probably have to rent it at home. Uh, Corley Farge's The Substance. Have you
I
seen trailers
wanted.
for this one?
Yeah, I
Or
want
you
to watch it.
okay? Uh, if it is still playing near you, listener, seek it out. Be forewarned, it goes there. It is probably the grossest body horror movie in some time. It also has like probably the best practical effects I've seen in a decade. I was absolutely blown away. This is the director of Revenge from several years ago. Do you remember that one? The mistress gets taken out in the desert by
Yeah,
her.
she and the soccer player dude are out there. She gets
y-
a shotgun. Dude, that
Yeah.
was dope. Yeah, I like that one.
So this is her follow-up, and
Yeah.
it is every bit as deranged, and it's excellent, truly excellent. One of my favorite movies of the year,
Hmm.
and up there for the best horror film of the year. Huge recommend for The Substance. Okay, I already mentioned Cure. Apartment 7A, that was the Rosemary's Baby prequel that
Hmm.
dropped on Paramount Plus. Did you have a chance to check that one out?
I don't know, and I've never seen Rosemary's Baby. It's just not a.
Okay. Well, the prequel has your girl from Ozark, so that's why I asked. I didn't know if it was on your radar. But is it
Eh,
Julie Garner? Julia Garner? What's her name?
I think it's Julie
Okay.
Garner. I don't
Uh,
know.
anyways, well, I guess disregard if you're not a Rosemary's Baby fan, and if you
Mm.
are, like myself, and love that movie, this only scratches a like prequel itch in as much as Diane Wiest, who is basically taking on the Ruth Gordon role, is absolutely incredible as Minnie, like
Mm.
nailing that. Honestly, both of the cast of it and all of the neighbors, it's like they did almost too good a job. Where it's like the movie would work much better if it was just not a prequel to Rosemary's Baby and it was just a
Its own
movie with a
thing.
similar vibe.
Yeah.
Yes, the degree to which it is beholden to it, kind of sucks all the life out of it. You know exactly where the movie's headed from moment one. You're like, well, she didn't have the baby. And if you again, you're not familiar with the movie, spoiler alert, but about like 30 minutes into Rosemary's Baby, there's a neighbor lady who jumps out of a window and is dead on the sidewalk that Rosemary and her husband, like, are coming home and witness. I think that's their introduction to the cast of it. So they like meet on the street. They may have met them already. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've seen it. But it clicked for me like a few minutes. I was like, oh, this is the story of that girl. And I was like, oh, literally, like I know exactly where this ends. So
Hmm.
it's kind, and then it's like, okay, well, you can play with a certain amount of like inevitability and doom, et cetera, et cetera. Like that could totally be a good horror movie, but I don't know. It just wasn't doing it for me. And rewatched our beloved Manhunter, Mr. Michael Mann.
Yes.
Shout out to one of our favorite miniseries, Manhunters. I believe available on this feed or the movie arc. I don't know where it's at these days. Just go search for it. And finally, before the month started proper, I watched Oddity on Shudder.
Hmm.
It was one that I'd heard a good bit about. It did release in theaters. Flanagan, I think, was a big proponent of this one. Uh, it's kind of a different take on I don't know. It's a swirl of a lot of things. It's kind of a mystery thriller combined with a little bit of supernatural possession. Uh, it didn't fully work for me. I don't want to say too much about it because it's got some nice twists and turns. It's got some decent imagery, but not a huge recommend. I've definitely got some new huge recommends, but that was not one of them. Okay. Now I will turn the table over to you, brother. Did you watch anything in the lead up and what how did you kick off October
Uh,
2024?
uh, Technically, even though I have the Watchers down here as my first movie, it's me misremembering. I started literally like 11:30, you know, well, technically the night before October 1st. I'm like cleaning bottles and I look at I finally like got Paramount on my phone. I had my own, not Paramount, Peacock. I had Peacock on my phone where it was just me. I never downloaded it and like logged in as Becky so I could have like all of the good stuff that Peacock has. And the first thing that popped up when I logged in under her login was Halloween Ends, and I was like, I'll just start there. So I just had that on as I was, cleaning bottles, washing up everything after everybody was asleep. But I did watch The Watchers before all that. When I saw that it was available, I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and throw it on there because it's like
Okay,
it looks
so
interesting.
this is
So
one of the
yeah,
first ones that we both sync up on. As a debut feature, like I thought it was well made.
yeah.
My big objection to this, without spoiling what the Watchers are, I think we can talk around it. Because I think it's a pretty cool setup
Hmm.
ultimately, like more in the like folk horror realm, but still
Right.
playing more comfortably in like a Shyamalanian setup where you know, like, okay, there's just something off here. My big objection is A, showing the Watchers to the degree that they do,
Hmm.
and then the fact that the way that they are visually represented, for the most part, is some pretty just kind of run in the mill CGI.
Yeah.
That I think were the real things that held it back because outside of that, dude, Dakota's always like a solid screen presence, and then you also have oh my gosh, her name escapes me. She was in Mandy. She was in the terrible Netflix Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, let's get her name. I don't vamp
She's in
for me
some
in the meantime though. But
she was
yeah,
in something else too, I saw as well. God, it was some other is she an actress from another she's not English, right? I thought she's from like a what's her it's like from she's like from
she's from
not
Ireland.
that's yeah. But she was in
Yes.
something else recently that I saw. I was like, oh, that's her. But it took me a minute to
Did you
realize I
did
can't
you
remember.
happen to watch Tarot?
No.
Oh, okay, she was in that apparently. Okay, we're not gonna play that. Her name is. Oh, I'm probably butchering this. Olwen Foer? Fior? Fior? Olwen, Olwen Foyer, Foure, but both of the E's have accent marks.
Okay.
So that's kind of a dealer's choice. I know the Irish like to spell their names very, or the excuse me, the translations to English are very tough
Yeah.
in some cases to represent what the sounds actually are. Uh, so yeah, that was a total cul-de-sac. But she's good. She's good in pretty much everything I've seen her in. But
Hmm.
and again, Dakota's very solid. But the movie just it's got good atmosphere, but it just killed it as soon as they started going overboard with the CGI. Just unnecessary and just adds to your budget too. Just
Well, I just have this thing about like, if you want things to be unnerving, the less you let me in on, the more unnerving I get. I saw that
yes, it
there's
also
a,
got over explainy towards the
yeah.
end.
So like I don't know if you ever watched the original, but there's a Japanese or maybe I don't know what country did it. But there's a remake of Cube that's out, and I want to
Mm.
watch it, but I'm not gonna watch it because I watched the original Cube, and that's one of the only horror movies that like just disturbed me to where I'm like, I don't have any desire to watch this again just because of like I don't know if it's the claustrophobia of it, the never endingness of it, the not knowing how you got there, why you're there. But again, all that plays into it of like, you know, all that. So it's like I get why, it'd be scary. Like you come up across this house in the woods and there these people are like, you got to get in here and hurry and you got to look at these things. They're looking at you. But the minute that you start telling me all this exposition of like why you're here, what they could be, all you know,
Right.
the doctor and underneath with the lab and all that, it's like, okay, I'm here, but wrap it up because I'm slowly like just being like, oh, here we go.
I'm kind of
You know,
losing interest. Yeah.
the same
Um,
way with I watched a knock at the cabin finally as part of
mhm.
this, and it's like really great. Started off strong, really, like okay, a lot of playing with is this, isn't it? And then just kind of like,
When it has to finally like put its hand on a scale one way or the other, you're kind of like, shit, I kind of wish we could have just existed in this
hmm
in between liminal
hmm
space.
right,
Uh, yeah,
but it's still as good as for a debut.
yeah. Uh,
Again,
anything,
to all
anything
these,
else that first evening?
no, not nothing to that, but I mean, into all these again, before we get deep into it, we fully acknowledge that neither one of us has made a movie. We may in the future, but we fully acknowledge we haven't. So like that's a baseline thing of like it's good that you were able to get people to give you money. I don't know if her dad gave her money because I forgot that he like self finances everything. So people who talk shit about his
Oh,
movies, I'm like,
it's a blinding edge picture. He
okay,
definitely put his mo money into it. Yeah,
yeah. So it's
and
like
she had directed on Servant, the Apple TV
I need to
series,
watch.
his
I need to
Apple
watch
TV
that show.
series.
That the show looks really good. I want to catch up on that.
I need to watch it
Um,
as well because there's been a lot of directors who I'm big fans of that have cycled through there that have
yeah.
like a couple episodes.
And there's a couple of seasons you could sit there and binge. So that would be one to catch up on. But like knowing that it's like knowing that he self finances and like so anybody who's like, oh, it's stupid, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter because like it's him. It's not a studio that's getting your money. He's put all the money up. He'll use somebody to distribute the film, but they're not making any money off of him, because they didn't give him money to make it. So that aspect of it, and again, overall with all these, horror is probably our favorite shared genre. And so just as fans, we can have we feel, but we fully acknowledge that, like, yeah, we've never made a movie, so maybe our criticism isn't warranted. But at the same time, if you're listening to this, it's what you're here for. But we just want to be acknowledge that up front, just in
Like
case there's somebody who randomly
I
listens
don't
to
know how
nARK.
often Gavin well yeah, that's I guess this could be somebody's first episode and they're just looking for
Yeah.
horror stuff. Yeah.
Well, because like we
I was
both
gonna
have
say the
friends that are
simple
in that do stuff. Like we have, I'm a friend of mine I've talked about before that it's like she works on a show for a living. I've never seen that show. I don't really, it's not my thing. Becky's watched every episode. She's into it. And so I'm like, oh, that's neat. But you and I both watch Gemstones and like she works on that too. So it's like any criticism we may have, anything, you never know who we may know that's like tangentially related to it. So I always just want to preface it's like, we get it. We're not filmmakers. We just enjoy the medium. But there is a ton of stuff out there to watch. So if we spend time with something, it's because we had an interest in it, whether it was purely nostalgic, we wanted to check it out because it was brand new. We heard about it, yada, yada, yada. So
fair
just,
enough. I feel
you
like
know,
that's the caveat for pretty much every single movie podcast in existence, but I do appreciate it. I also feel like the fact that you felt the reason or the need to go out of your way to say all that means that you watched some bad movies in the
I
last couple
did.
weeks
I did.
and you want to talk some shit and you're
I
just like,
did.
"Hey, I just want to preface this by saying like I respect everybody, but I watched some garbage and I'm going to talk about it."
No, and it's also prep for in a few years, might be like, listen, buddy, I just want to say this. Just understand that I love you and your mom loves you, but this shit you're doing now is not cool, and we can't do this anymore. You know, this trying to take your diaper off and run around thing, that's not happening. We can't do it. That sort of thing. I'm working up, like I'm working out the methodology of how I'm going to be like facing things in the future by trying to be like, hey, we love it, but we don't love all of it. Because there's some stuff I watched, I'm just like, okay. Then there's some stuff I watched, and I was like, oh, I don't think this is what it was trying to do, but this is what I'm gleaming from it. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks that, but I kind of like it in a way.
Mhm.
So
Well, I went in full bore. I was like, let's go ahead. Let's do it. Uh, kick the October 1st off with with a rewatch of the gorgeous 4K restoration from Arrow Video of William Friedkin's Cruising.
Hmm.
Have you watched this yet? Did I lend you the?
No.
Okay, it's not. It's one of those you gotta rent constantly. I think about like it like every once in a while is randomly available on streaming. But next time I'm back in y'all's neck of the woods, I'll bring it with me. But this is Al Pacino is on the trail of a killer of gay men in the underground leather bar scene in like late 70s, early 80s New York. Are you are you
Yeah,
familiar with
I
this?
know the
You know
movie.
the
Yeah, yeah.
premise, you just never
Hmm.
seen it. Yeah,
Yeah.
this had been on my like list to watch forever. I blind bought it, I think last year, maybe 2 years ago. This was only the second time I rewatched it. Incredible movie. Just so good. I can't wait for you to watch it and then we can do an episode on it. Yeah, and then I followed that up with David Cronenberg's Videodrome. Rewatch of that.
You can't go wrong with
Uh,
that.
yeah, so a little uh giallo adjacent gritty kind of slasher
Yeah.
mixed with uh some body horror. That's how I chose to start off the month. And that's going to be a trend. I was in the body horror mode because it's coming off the substance. And Cronenberg's new one just got pushed. I think it comes out like early next year, but The Shrouds has played at a couple of festivals and has gotten uh, very high remarks. Probably some of the best reviews since History of Violence. So I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Hmm.
Vincent Cassel is I believe the lead. I don't know who else is in it, but yeah, that was my first night. So take it away with night two for you. And just a heads up, we are on a timer. Uh, in lieu of us not recording that often, I did turn off the like premium
Okay.
Zoom.
That happened. Yeah.
So we're probably gonna have to take a break here, and I don't know what the stop down time will be, but we'll figure that out later. Go ahead.
Okay. Um. So I'd already watched all the Hellraisers. I was like, what's that other like um Clive Barker
Nightbreed.
out there? No.
Nightbreed? No.
Lord of Illusions.
Lord of Illusion. Okay, I was gonna say
So
that was gonna be
like
my second choice. Never seen it.
not fucking don't even waste your time. I mean, it's not that great. I mean, I like Scott Bakula and I like the oh God, what was he? He was in everything. He's the faculty. He's the drunk one. He's in Super Troopers. That guy with the forehead. You know who I'm talking about. Um, like he's the bad guy, but not really. And then the guy Benny from the Mummy. I don't know his name.
Daniel Von Bargen
Yes, he's the
is
bad
the
guy.
bad guy.
He's like a
Okay.
weird cult leader, and then like Famke Jensen is in it. That was nice. I was like, oh, this like right around the time that Bond came out, so it's like, oh, there she is. It's like
Okay.
post Bond but pre X-Men, but it's just not. I mean, maybe it was cool in the '90s, but like it just did not age, and I just didn't care for it. But I
This
like
goes
Clive
in
Barker's
the this goes in the like warlock
thing. Mm-hmm.
witchmaster. Like
Wishmaster Warlock. Yeah, yeah,
I can see the VHS covers in my head now. I just vividly remember being like, not for me.
yeah.
Just like, nope,
I mean,
skip, continue,
I
move on.
appreciate either Peacock or Stars, whoever had it, so I could watch it and be like, yeah, this is not good, but I just,
I think we
it's
just fundamentally like, and he didn't direct that one, did he? Did he direct it?
I don't think so. I think it just like it was a thing he wrote, maybe.
Oh, he
I mean,
no, he directed it.
he
That's a
did. Okay,
bummer. That
yeah.
is a bummer because I know like Nightbreed was kind of taken away from him, but that director's cut exists.
Hmm.
Um, but no, that's a bummer. So this is the only other one he directed after. Yeah, no, that is a bummer. And I wonder again if it's like there's a 2.5 hour cut of it that like is
Maybe.
really good, and this is like a studio hash job. But notably, he never makes anything again after this other than what looks like a TV movie uh, called
Yeah.
Salome and the Forbidden, which is barely feature length. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, no, that's a bummer because again, the original Hellraiser I think is one of the most unique um, horror movies of the 80s, and just from a visual standpoint, I was always like, yeah, like. this guy knows how to make a movie, and he's also got a weird approach that's a little non-traditional from the editing style and just the vibe of everything.
Hmm.
Um, and you and I always talk about just how just like that movie goes for it. Like it's dirty, it's grimy, it's nasty, it's mean. It's just a mean movie. Like there are no, there's like one decent character in the entire thing. Everybody else is a piece of shit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And if I
it's
had to,
just
if I had to peg it, like he would be, I would consider him like the closest thing to a modern day Lovecraft you could come up with. There's this whole other world out there that you cosmically just have no idea about.
yeah, and I
And
don't.
that's kind of what's at play at Lords of Illusions, but it's just like, okay, so it's magic. It's like this like power of you know, suggestion kind of thing. Is it what are we doing here?
I
And
feel
it
like
just never,
outside of Candyman, nobody gets at like taking one of his. I think his concepts are incredibly interesting. Like
yeah,
even the ones that have gone off and didn't totally work. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Lord of Illusions, avoid.
yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, anything else?
I'll go ahead and throw in. I watched Don't Breathe and Don't Breathe 2 because they were on Stars. I don't know if people consider these horror movies. I did a thing where like everything I
I
watched
think
had
I
to
never
have
saw the
like
second one. I definitely consider the first one a horror movie, though.
the first one was
Absolutely.
great. The second one falls in that trend of like, oh, remember the bad guy? Well, now he's the good guy and he's got to do this. And so I would say Don't Breathe, great. Don't Breathe 2, I wouldn't.
See, I
And
like
it's
the
not Stephen
thought.
Lang. It's not Stephen Lang. He's great.
Oh,
But it's just
I thought you literally were like, it's not Stephen Lang. I'm like, wait, no, I
oh
thought
no, 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 it's
they
him. No,
recast him. What?
no,
Okay.
it's definitely him. He's great in it. Like he's doing the best he can. Just it's you know how like there was the collector, then there was the collection, and those two are like perfectly built upon each other. You would want it to be that,
Did
but
you
it's
know that
not.
three is finally happening,
No,
apparently?
I had no idea. I'm so
I
fucking
believe that
stoked
was
now.
just recently confirmed.
Hell yes.
Also, while we're just talking about cool stuff and the episode timer is wrapping up, and we're gonna take a little break. Uh, did you watch the Creep movies with
No,
Mark
but I saw there's a
Duplass?
TV.
Exactly. So there is one and two, and I was literally every once in a while, it's one of those projects I go look for on IMDb, and Creep 3 has been listed for years that like they might do it, they might do another one. Never happened. And then all of a sudden they drop the trailer for a Shudder series, six
Hmm.
episodes called The Creep Tapes. And initially, like from the trailer, even I was like, oh, is this going to be like we're just taking the concept and now like people are doing it? But Duplass seemingly is in every single one of them. So it is a continuation of the movies
Yeah, I
without
need to find
spoiling.
those and watch those because
I
I've
believe
seen
they are
them,
all
but
still on Netflix. They like live on Netflix. Not that
okay.
Netflix had anything to do with them, but I think they have always been streaming on there.
Hmm.
Uh, Highly recommend both of those. They are two of the best found footage movies you'll ever see. And I know the mumblecore vibe only goes so far for some people. I think particularly Creep One is genuinely fucking disturbing and very creepy, especially if you're just watching it by yourself. It's a creepy movie. All right, we're going to take a little break and we will be back in just a moment. All right, and we are back from a brief interlude, and we brought a straggler back with us, joining the pod in real time. Mr. Brendan Reilly joins us to get in the spooky spirit. Brendan, this is you've become the voice of the everyman
Sure.
occasionally on this pod.
Yeah.
So, what scares you? I know you're not, I know it's not like your preferred genre,
Yeah.
but
No, it's not.
when you go to a horror movie, what are you hoping to achieve? And also, like, what are the ones that actually work for you before we get into continuing to go through our list, because that'll let us know what ones are worth recommending to you or which ones you should just avoid like the plague. But yeah,
I think.
give us your history of horror, if you will.
Yeah, I think what I tend to expect, what I'm looking for, and what works are all actually. different, to be honest with you. I think I tend to expect most horror movies to not be that great. And what I mean by that is have a depth of a plot. And I mean that's obvious, right? They're not there to be that deep. But there's some good ones I think that we've seen. Um, what works for me or what I enjoy are ones that are like we were talking about the other day, Scream, right? Scream is probably my favorite, and now we want to call it horror slasher if we can throw those into the same mix. Um,
Slasher movies would be a subgenre of the of
Subgenre.
horror films. Yes, yes.
So Scream, and I think whether you actually are terrified by Scream or not, I do believe that when we go see it, it's more of I don't want to say comedy as in like downplaying it, like it's comical, but it's more fun and comedy than it is horror and scary. Um, and that's what I like. Those are the ones that I enjoy going to.
You
You get
you
in
like a fun ride. You like
fun ride, fun ride.
you like a haunted house, if you will.
Scary, but not like really scary. But I can sit here and try to figure out, okay, is this the person the killer? Is this
And
person the killer?
okay, so you like a whodunit as
Who
well.
done it? Who done it?
So
The one
slasher is probably your preferred subgenre, if anything, which
without
is
a
kind
doubt.
of what we all collectively, I'm a little bit younger than you guys, but we grew up right in the reboon due to Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and a slew of movies right at the end of the 90s and into the 2000s before we burn that genre out completely and get into a more gritty, visceral, gross, torture pointy era
Yeah,
right in the early 2000s there. So
I think the ones that like truly get me though, because you and I were actually talking about this recently, and the ones that are like the subtle, the paranormal activity are the ones that are quote unquote loosely based on true stories. Those are the ones where I'll be watching them, and there's a part of me that's either like, man, like this actually happened to somebody, like it makes me sad on the inside, like The Strangers, right? We talked about Liv Tyler getting stabbed slowly at the very end, and like I can't watch that movie. I just can't physically bring myself to watch that movie because I'm sad. And then on the other hand, we talked about paranormal activity where you sit there for an hour and a half, nothing really happens in the first 45 minutes to an hour, just like subtle little things, and you leave the movie and you're like, man, that that I didn't even watch anything. Nothing happened, and then you don't sleep for 4 days because you're looking around every corner and every breeze through the house and every shake of something, and you're like, well, if I love the movie or not, it definitely did its job, you know. And so those are the ones
all
that are
right.
tough for me.
So some paranormal stuff kind of fucks with you, the unexplainable, and a slasher that's not fun but more visceral, a la The Strangers, a la Texas
Yeah,
Chainsaw, for instance,
right,
which
right, right.
you did not come to the 40th, excuse me, 50th anniversary screening that I attended recently. You skipped that one. Uh, those are not as much your vibe. So keeping that in mind moving forward, Gav, I don't I don't know where we were. Oh yeah, I hadn't gotten to my night two. Have you ever
We don't even
seen
have to go night by night, dude. We just need to
whatever?
get into it with this kid. We need to let him know what he needs to watch and what he doesn't need to watch because it sounds to me like he's kind of in the same vein as all of us when it comes to like when you've got real world terrors, you want just like a fun scare. You don't want to think about anything like legitimate. You know what I mean? It's like if you're getting chased by the killer and Scream, it's like, oh no, this is terrible. But if I die, I don't have to pay bills anymore, you know? And I used to feel that way. But now like I have a whole new look on like, oh, this is terrible, but like there's more, it's like definitely layered, you know, having gone through what I've gone through this year. It's like, oh, no, this is a whole different like way of thinking, you know? And it's like some stuff lately that's come up with horror when there's like when children come up, I'm just like, nope, not doing it.
Can't do it.
Just
Yeah, switch it. Yeah.
can't. I mean, I get it, you know, and I understand it, but it's like there were two times mid February March before I went back to work, where I fell asleep with him on my chest out front in the recliner. So he was fine. He was breathing fine. But I woke up in a nightmare state because I looked and it looked to me for like 5 seconds, split, 5 split seconds. I don't know how long it felt, but it looked to me like in the night he had turned his head the wrong way and he wasn't breathing. And for 2 seconds, I was like, oh, fuck, this baby's. And then he, oh, okay, he's fine. But I had that in my head and it stuck in my head. And it's
Hmm.
like seeing all that, like going through that whole thing, it's like, there's like real world stuff that doesn't terrify me anymore. There's real world stuff that does terrify me. So, like, I'm in the vein of give me something that'll let me cathartically kind of deal with stuff that's in the real world, but don't tell me that you're doing that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that I want to come to maybe, and this is the one I was talking about, Noah, that like it's kind of like a I don't think people got this from it, but I did. And if nobody got it from it, and I'm wrong, I'm crazy. But did you watch Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
Have not seen. No.
I don't think a
Th
lot of people liked it. I don't think a lot of people watched it. But with what goes on in that movie, to me, whether they meant to or not, it's like the perfect example of just like what kids these days do to each other and can do to each other.
That's disturbing. See that to me, what you just told me, you described that. I'm disturbed, and I haven't even seen it, heard of it, nothing.
No, well, okay. I mean, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but like if you watch it and you see like the links that people go to with misinformation
Yeah.
and like just how quick to act and quick to like just again, I'm talking like kids younger than us. I would put it Gen Z kids. We're all firmly millennials, but like Gen Z kids and younger, just how quick to action they are, how you see something, it's automatically one thing. It cannot be something else. And when that's all kind of, when that ramps up you know, in your situation and what that does to you, kind of like mass hysteria, I guess you would call it. But like, even though it's like on a subdued scale, because it's only a group of people in a house, but just
Mhm.
all of that kind of blended in. I don't know if that's what they were going for. That's what I took it from. And so I thoroughly enjoyed like that piece of it. But a lot of the like, just because of who the characters were, I was just like, this is annoying as hell. But I know that it was meant to be annoying as hell.
Right.
It wasn't meant for me to like it in that regard. But what it was doing overall, I thought was really neat. But it wasn't, to me, it was subtle. It wasn't like a huge thing.
Hmm.
All right.
But
That one for everybody is available on HBO Max and on Paramount Plus as well. And I think I will finally check it out. I didn't avoid it for any particular reason. I just, maybe I was
yeah,
maybe my Pete Davidson levels were at peak volumes at the
well,
moment, and
he's not there long, so it's
I
fine. You're
needed a
good.
reset. That's good. Um, Without spoiling, is my boy Connor O'Malley in there for any substantial amount of time? I saw him in the cast, but he's not on the poster.
Connor O'Malley. It's
No,
him.
don't.
No, no, it's Pete Davidson and Lee Pace. If your boy is who I think he is, then no, not
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
Like
Well,
randomly, just like those are the
oh,
two dudes that
okay,
are in it.
okay,
So
okay. I will watch it. I will watch it before the month is over. Fair enough. Um, all right. I just want to go through them with you. Um, VHS Beyond. Let's hit a
yes,
big. We
yes.
we get one every year now. Shudder has taken over the franchise, and they're treating it right in my book. So this was VHS Beyond. This is like the seventh or eighth one, I forget. Uh, Brendan, any familiarity with the VHS franchise?
No. No.
Okay. So they're all found footage, not a subgenre that we've specifically discussed. But I guess paranormal activity actually falls right into found footage. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't know I don't know how much you enjoy that vibe, but
Terrifying. I mean, like, and then correct me if I'm mistaken, would Blair Witch or any of those kind of fall into that
Yep,
type of thing?
I mean, yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. So
Okay.
You argue
VHS,
that
the
Blair Witch is the
entire
granddaddy of them all, if you want to argue
I
that.
mean, if you, and then people obviously would fight you and say the last broadcast and like, throw in some other examples, but that is
Yeah,
in popular consciousness,
yeah.
100%. That is it. Uh, but yeah, so the conceit of the VHS franchise is, well, at least in the first one, guys break into a house, find a bunch of VHS tapes with a bunch of weird shit on them. And so you go into basically a horror anthology. Each segment is directed by a different, like, up and coming indie filmmaker. Uh, and it's been going for over a decade now.
Yeah, at
When
least
was the first one? Yeah. So you usually have anywhere between like four and
2012.
six, yeah, 4 and 6 little segments. There's usually a wraparound that kind of ties them all together as well. But so it lets them go into many different subgenres, all within found footage. But you've got demons, you've got more supernatural, like ghost sort of stuff. You've got
Yeah.
zombies, you've got all sorts of different stuff. So VHS Beyond broadly, at least in the trailer, they were kind of setting it up as like this one is kind of united by sci-fi, broadly speaking. And we're like, all right, so maybe we're getting some alien sort of stuff. The first one, Storks or Stork, I believe,
Hmm.
is basically a POV, basically a first-person shooter of a team going into raid like a farmhouse of some sort of alien creatures that resemble birds and storks. And I don't want to spoil what else is in the mix there. That one was fun, super over the top, crazy effects. What was the second one
That sounds
Uh,
fun, to be honest.
let me see.
chronologically? In the wraparound segment
Is
all
there not a
concerns basically trying to debunk or bunk
That's right.
a
I'm getting
series
this.
of
See,
VHS news.
I'm getting
Yes,
this one confused with the last one where there was like the test subject that they kept
the one that
going
was
back
very
to.
themed around the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Uh,
I did enjoy that one from last year. I must say. But yeah, the next
okay.
one was the Dream Girl
Oh yes,
was the
that
next
is
one.
the Bollywood inspired one. My
Oh yeah.
only the weakest of the bunch in my mind, and the only reason I say so, it does bug me when they break the aesthetic. And this
Hmm.
one like broke into full on Bollywood musical numbers, really kind of just played fast and loose with like the camera setups that would be available to you. I like when they kind of stick to a little bit of a structure of like this is all a continuous take, or we've got two people filming and maybe we cross cut between two different film stocks, but that's about it, like Blair Witch rules. But um, that's my one kind of like within this franchise, anytime they do that, and it's very few and far between, but anytime you kind of fuck with the structure and step outside of like, hey, it's supposed to be videotape or it's supposed to be this, kind of bugs me a little bit. But I did enjoy that one still. It kind of goes a little bit like Terminator-esque.
But
If
it
we're
but
if we're
it
tying it
yeah.
in with sci-fi, there's some sort
But
of
also I feel like everyone like that that deviates, it's like it's and then has like it's heavily subtitled. They're just trying to be the um the crazy cult one from VHS 2 that's still like the
Oh,
best
Team,
one.
yeah, Timos, yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
best,
Timo.
the best of the franchise. He has a
Yeah.
new action movie that I think drops either end of this month or November on Netflix that I've heard amazing things about. Everything okay with our little guy over there?
I
You
thought
Pardon
all
I
me?
good?
heard
Everything all good?
I just thought I heard something like did you move your mic? Anybody move a mic or move a phone?
No.
Oh
Um,
weird.
Ooh, spooky,
I mean all
spooky.
the doors are locked, but I don't I mean and this is I just felt like coming in my
Okay.
right ear. I thought it was like
Okay. After that, we're lightly spoiling these, but we're trying to sell Brendan on them. Next one is called Live and Let Dive, and it
hmm.
is a crew of friends going up for a friend's birthday to do skydiving. He's never been before, and he's freaking out. He's like losing his shit, and they're building up to like, all right, like we're gonna do the jump soon. You're like, all right, what the hell's gonna happen, dude? Friggin' UFO appears, F-16s flying in behind it. Their plane gets brushed. Before you know it, like boom, plane explodes. They get sucked out. Everybody's like flying through the air, like land in a cornfield. Oh shit, there's an alien on our ass. We got to run out of this cornfield. That's it. Um, from a pure technical standpoint, one of the most memorable segments they've done
Definitely.
in a long time.
Definitely.
Uh, and this is what I was talking about, where it's like this is the conceit of this one is it's a oneer. Like it's essentially a GoPro strapped to the person as this is happening, and you're just like, how the hell did they shoot this? Computers are awesome, dude. I don't know. They're doing a
Especially with
lot.
the practical effects that are in it as well.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I enjoyed that one quite a bit, but for me, the last two are where it's at. Fur Babies, which is
Oh yeah.
directed by the actor Justin Long and his brother Christian. Uh,
Do you
is
listen to their podcast?
I didn't know they had a podcast.
Dude, Life is Short with Justin Long. Oh, dude, he interviews. He's so good.
Why
It's
do Gavin? This is why we're pivoting to YouTube. Why do we do this? Literally every single celebrity you can think of has a podcast. Like, look at the
no,
sea.
not everybody.
Well, not obviously not everybody, but enough.
That camera angle was shifting, and I was like,
Yeah,
is he
that was
about
like,
to like show us something that we don't want to see?
yeah,
Okay, Jesus. All right, moving right along. But fur babies in the like barbarian meets Tusk vein,
yep,
what a good time, dude. Just like I've learned from two of my masters,
yeah.
Zach Treger and Kevin Smith. Here we go. Uh, I absolutely love that one. I like when they get twisted and campy and fun. And that one delivered. That was a good time. The I love a great setup again without spoiling it. There's a moment very early on in that which is centered around a dog kennel essentially, uh,
Mm-hmm.
like a pet sitting operation where our we were talking about the use of different camera stocks and stuff a minute ago, but there's a moment early on in that one where all of a sudden we cut to a different POV with a different film stock,
Mm-hmm.
and I immediately was like, who the fuck is filming this? And it was one of the best like subtle scares I think
Mm-hmm.
I've seen in any of them, and I was just like, I'm locked in. I can't wait to see where this one goes. And then we cap it all off with the directorial debut of Mrs. Mike Flanagan, Katie Siegel, directing from a script written by him. And this one I thought was kind of a tour de force. Essentially, a lady out. Is she actively looking for? She's following the
Yeah,
lights, right? She's out. She's
yeah.
already. It's not like she stumbles across them, but
She's talked to multiple people too, like a different place. She stopped at
yeah,
different places, like seeing what's happened and
it's a
whatnot.
it's a lady out in the desert looking for a UFO, looking for lights essentially, and then she finds some. And I don't really want to spoil where it goes from there, but again, I think one of the most visually audacious and kind of dreamy segments they've ever done. I love that it was the
Mm-hmm.
closer, and I thought it was dope. Uh,
Yeah.
really really strong across the board this year. They've uh They've been killing it, dude. It's always a nice little treat. You just,
Mm-hmm.
again, the simple structure of like, if I didn't really love that one, I got another one right around the corner. And they know they've, I think, progressively as the series has gone on, gotten so good with sequencing where they know just where to place what they have to work with, basically, where it's like, oh yeah, that one should have been third, not fourth, and vice versa.
Right.
Everything kind of fits perfectly in place. So yeah, Brendan, you cannot go wrong with any of those. They're all available on Shutter slash AMC Plus. But yeah, any of the VHSs, and then I think like the first two cycle through Netflix and maybe
Yeah.
Viral as well. Um,
Yeah.
the first two in particular are like pretty top to bottom. Like even the dog shit ones in the first two are
They're
better
so
than
good.
some of the like some of the lesser anticipated
They're
ones.
pretty good, huh?
Yeah, they're very fun, and again, some that will just be fun to you, some you might find completely dumb, and then some that will probably legit like freak you the fuck out. It's a nice mix, so you get a
Yeah,
lot of different vibes, and most, like I said, they're very bite sized. Most of them are 15 to 20 minutes long. So,
Plus,
uh,
like, there you can look back because it's over. We're over 10 years in it now. You can look back and be like, oh, that was this guy's segment. Now he's done this movie. Oh, wow,
for
that's dope.
instance, like you and I have seen uh, the God, both of the recent Godzilla and Kong movies together.
hmm Yeah.
Both of those are directed by Adam Wingard, who cut
Hmm.
his teeth on like low budget horror movies. Uh, did some segments for VHS. He did Your Next, The Guest, etc. I don't know if you've seen either of those.
The Guest 2.
If that actually happens, I'll.
No, it came out like 2 years ago. They just released a soundtrack to it. They were like, sorry, we'd love to get
Oh,
everybody. Yeah,
I
it's
didn't know
out.
about
It's
that.
been out.
Okay,
Yeah. It's just a
cool.
soundtrack, but it's like curated by them as like this is what we would think it would sound like if we did a sequel to it. But there's like photos of it and everything to make it like to like match the vibe of what they would have thought the second one would be. It's
Word.
on Apple Music. You should check it out. It's
Okay,
dope.
I wanna broach a subgenre because this Arctober in particular, for me, has been the year of J horror.
Hmm.
I went back and I was like, there's a lot of these that I kind of brushed aside either because of American remakes that I was not interested in, or just because I was burnt out on them at the time. That I either completely avoided or kind of like thought I'd seen, maybe not. Um, Brendan,
Sure.
did you see The Ring in theaters? The American remake of The Ring, starring one Miss Naomi Watts.
I
Not ringing a bell.
no, no. I mean, I've seen The Ring. Question is whether I saw it in theaters. I think I saw it at home. I actually think we were doing there was like some sort of slumber party or something. I think there's a bunch of us, if I remember correctly. Uh,
Almost a more effective setting to see it in for sure.
yeah, but I did see it. Yes.
So I've always been a huge fan of that movie, and outing myself as a non-cinephile, never saw Ringu, or just Ring as it's known, from '98. Uh, Finally went back to see that, but before I did, I watched the 1995 TV movie adaptation that ran on Fuji TV in Japan. And there's a great YouTube video you can watch. It's, fully subtitled, but it also has the Japanese ads in between, Gav,
Hmm.
from 95 era Fuji
Oh God.
TV. It is so fun. I highly
Perfect.
recommend you go watch this. The first, like, the opening is probably about as scary as it gets, but it was very interesting to basically over the course of 6 days, because I just like took every other day I would watch one, but I did the 95 TV movie. Then I
Hmm.
did the 98, like proper, the one that everybody kind of knows and was knocked out by, kind of started the J horror, revolution. And
And
then that eventually became,
that's with
um,
old boy from Shogun, right? For Brendan's sake. Yeah.
yes. Um, oh my gosh.
I know his name, but I'm
You're
not gonna
gay,
butcher it.
literally, no, no, no. It's literally
Yeah.
Hiroyuki Sanada. Excuse
Yeah.
me. I was
I
like,
was
I
just gonna
know
say
that's in
Sonata,
my
but I don't
brain.
yeah.
Where was it? But yes, he is in the is it Martin Campbell in the other one?
I don't know who the guy was I just remember Naomi Watts in the
I
American
just
version.
remember his name is Noah. That's all I remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so watching those, like, basically three different interpretations of the same novel. And again, the American remake is mainly just riffing off the 98 Japanese movie. But the
Hmm.
difference between that TV movie and the 98 version, that's a fun double feature to almost do back to back. Kind of highly recommend it.
Hmm.
But this falls in. The reason I wanted to ask Brendan is I'm like, they're all about ghosts and spirits and like the beyond and like, more slow,
Yeah.
brooding subtlety. And that's why I was wondering if you had gotten into any of those, because I feel like it might be your vibe, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
And just the the visual language, if you will, it's not, the scares are different because they're not playing by the same rhythms that you're expecting from American jump scares.
Okay.
And also the things they find scary are not necessarily what we find scary, and vice versa. So yeah, I didn't know if you had explored any of those. Obviously, there are terrible ones. Like I think the American remake of The Grudge is one
I
of the
do. I was
worst
about to
movies
say The
I've ever
Grudge. I
seen.
will tell you. I would tell you that Ring. I mean, I was. I don't want to say terrified as a kid, but like disturbed for sure. For sure. Grudge. I remember watching Grudge and being like unamused. I don't want to say unamused, is in the sense of like this movie's awful, and because it wasn't great, but unamused in the sense of like it didn't touch any sort of horror factor on me at all.
Uh-huh.
But the Ring, I just remember being like in the house. I think the phone rang. I was like, I'm not answering that shit. That's one of y'all got to answer that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very effective concept. In rewatching them all very close together, I got to be honest, the remake does not hold up nearly as well as it kind of did in my memory. Like going into this, I would have told you like, oh no, that's one of the best American remakes. And I don't think it's like substantially lesser than, but kind of going back to the OG. I told mom because that's one that she always references. She's like, when that girl comes out of the TV, I just can't. And I was like, Mom, have you ever watched the original? Because I don't think you would be able to handle it. It is so
Is
much
it that much more
scarier.
terrifying?
Oh yeah,
It
dude. It's like
it
it's like
there's
you're
one
there.
particular little subtle detail to it that they do not
Don't
nail,
don't
but and
don't.
I don't even want to tell you what it is, but it is it's the thing that sticks with me. And it's like when it happened, I was like, I can't deal with that shit. That's
I
too much.
might like. There's a part of me, the curious part of me, wants to go watch it.
I mean, the curious part of you should, and also you could also go on YouTube and watch like a comparison side by side and just watch like the scare scenes and see how they do them.
I
I
might
I
wait
wouldn't
until
necess-
like
I would
two
recommend
o'clock in
just
the
watching the movie.
afternoon. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sunny day.
You could do
No,
that as well, yeah. So, anyways, that's been a big one for me. The other two that I will shout out, I mentioned Kiyoshi Kurosawa and The Short Chime, which you can find as an NFT. So I finally watched Cure, which I mentioned to you, Gav,
Mhm.
without spoiling anything, because it's one of those you kind of gotta watch unfold, but it's a detective investigating a series of seemingly disconnected murders where like people are just out of the blue committing like brutally violent acts against people in their very close, like immediate family or friends, seemingly out of nowhere with no provocation. And again, seemingly all disconnected. The only thing that unites them is that all these people who have no prior history of violent crime or mental illness, etc., all of a sudden are snapping and killing people. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's where it starts. And
So like the happening if they weren't killing
The
themselves.
Happening, dude. I couldn't think about it.
it it,
Yeah.
The
it
Mark Wahlberg
is
movie. Thank you for
it gets
yeah.
into it is a supernatural thriller in as much as like you're like what's the thing, right? Like what's the thing that's making all of this happen? And then there is a central figure. I do not want to say anything more than that,
Is it
but
Slender Man?
no, it's a
Okay.
and there's an individual who you're like, okay, this guy's not not doing the murders. It's not that sort of scenario. But is this guy influencing people too? And if so, how? Okay.
Hmm.
I don't want to say more than that. It's, I think it became very relevant again post Long Legs, which I don't think you've probably seen yet
I
because it
need to.
is
I
only newly now rentable. There's a lot of people definitely of the mind that Long Legs is just kind of like less good cure. Uh, after having seen it, I tend to agree with them. Really, really good movie. And again, one you kind of gotta just watch unfold. Pulse, another one from same director, which people are probably more familiar with the Kristen Bell, shitty American remake that gets made fun of and forgetting Sarah Marshall. And I forget who else was in that movie as well. But the 2001 Japanese version has, I think, pound for pound, it's a long movie, but I think the way that the quote unquote like scare sequences are paced out, I think has pound for pound some of the shit that has stuck with me the most throughout this month. Uh, and it's essentially it's Ghost in the Internet is the basic setup of that one. It's fucking terrifying. And also kind of like deeply about something, which very few horror movies are. So uh, highly recommend.
Yeah,
That's my
Wes Craven
that's
wrote
Noah's
the
J horror corner.
Wes Craven wrote the script for the American remake.
And they had to butcher it.
Screenplay
They had to butcher it. Let's not mention that. He really did. I did not know that.
screenplay by Wes Craven and Ray Wright.
I believe you. Um,
Kristen Bell, Ian some Summerholder.
Summerholder.
Yeah. Christina Milian and Sam Levine.
Oh, dude, Christina Milian, the singer,
Brendan
you gotta crush her
Brendan
dresses.
hasn't said shit. He's literally off camera. Hasn't said anything in like 5 minutes. Oh, Christina Milian.
I'm right here.
All right.
Wasn't
He's like,
she?
oh,
What's
he's like,
that?
I'm
What's
gonna
that
watch
Nick
that
Cannon
one.
movie? Wasn't she in like?
Drumline. Yes. Okay. Let's move along. Okay. Let's move along. We're not talking about Drumline. We're talking about horror movies. Okay.
Like
I
a
Um.
thought
pretty.
you were gonna say
There's
who's that Nick Cannon movie? Who's your daddy? But no.
a. Who's to say
Okay.
Drumline's not a horror movie? I mean, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if Drumline was like Whiplash? Could you imagine that?
Dude.
I'd actually watch
The sequel to Whiplash, Drumline. Come on.
Remake it. Okay. All right, Gab, hit us with some of yours. That was my little J horror corner. I just want to make sure I
Um,
hit all of them. I think I did. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with another one that I don't see the need for. You can watch it. Mom and I are on the same vibe. The Salem's Lot remake, not that great.
So I did a hard pass on it based on the fact that I didn't hear a single good thing. I didn't hear
Nope.
anybody sticking up for it. If I
And
if
here's
I all I needed was for one person to be like, "Hey, it was solid. It was a fun time." Nobody had
okay.
anything good to say about that
So
movie.
if you know anything about this, the story goes that Stephen King just thinking out loud one night was like, I wonder what would happen if Count Dracula just like showed up today. And his wife was like, oh, he'd probably get hit by a cab in New York City. Ah ha ha, okay. So that's the whole idea of the novel is what would happen if a Count Dracula type showed up now. So I don't remember the TV series in TNT with Rob Lowe. I don't remember when it's set. I think it's supposed to be set present day. But I feel like that's why I like that more because when you take it back to the 70s and it's a period thing, and it's like, oh, we're in the 70s here. You're
Mean,
not telling me anything.
meanwhile, we're not gonna do anything aesthetically or through the set design or art direction to make it actually feel
Oh
like
no
the
no 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 no
70s.
no!
We're
It it
just
it,
gonna
it does.
like,
They've got all cars are period piece. The
but
uh,
there's
all set things, but it's like
no,
when you
no. There, there's a feel thing, is what I'm saying though. There's
Mhm.
plenty of movies and stuff that's set in the past, but actually nailing like feeling like you're in that time period is very difficult to do.
Right,
Like
but
you
it's
can,
like but it's one of those where like it's that's what dates it. If you were to update this to like this
that's
is now, this is 2024, and well, this guy's coming to this town because well, all the jobs are gone because the economy and the inflation and like the fear of the outsider. Is it the only redeeming quality that I even great appreciated was that Euron Greyjoy was his little henchman dude. But then again, like there's kids involved and like the family, all this. I'm like, yeah, I as soon as they went with like, we're gonna go there with like being edgy with like we're gonna sacrifice these killing these kids. I'm like, nope, I'll finish it, but I right here and there, I'm not with it. Again, that's me personally, but I can go for I went finish the whole thing to say I did, and it's like I don't know if it was like a meditation on like what is it supposed to be? What's a vampire when it's not? It's like even during the height of vampires, like the Twilight movies and all that, if you would have put this out, I feel like people would have been like, what is this? What are you doing?
mhm.
Because it doesn't say anything, it doesn't do anything new. It doesn't, I don't even remember that the
It's
70s were all
almost
that
like
great.
there was a reason that it sat on the shelf for 3 years and then ended up on HBO Max as a Max original and was not in theaters.
It's
It's
it
almost like they knew they had a complete, just total wet fart of a
But
movie
at
on
the
their
okay,
hands.
but at the same time, if you give Mike Flanagan just a little bit more money to do something with this, I feel like it could have been amazing. It's just the fact that like
Well,
nobody needs
I
to
was
touch
gonna
Stephen King but Mike Flanagan.
I was gonna say, it sounds like, guess what? If you want to watch a new, cool, updated version of Salem's Lot, it's called Midnight Mass. Go watch it. It's
Exactly,
on
yeah.
Netflix. Like literally,
Mhm.
what are we talking about here?
And if you want to watch a great Salem's Lot movie, A Return to Salem's Lot is on HBO
And
Max as well. It is a
at as
perfect.
is
It's a sequel that's better than the original.
is gonna, no, it is not. It's
It is
fun.
perfect, dude.
It's fun and it's a camp classic. It's not better
Yeah, it
than the
is.
original. Do not.
I don't remember the original. I thought the original was a TV movie anyway.
It is. Toby Hooper directed TV movie that
Oh,
has like two or three of like the best scares of the 70s. What are you talking like?
eh,
We watched them both. You just remember the grandpa in the second one because he's hilarious, but the
it's not a
second one,
grandpa. He's a Nazi hunter. It's not even the grandpa. He's just a random dude.
my mistake.
Jeremy. That's all I remember is like the kid's terrible performance, Tara Reid. And if I'm being honest, dude, it's the fucking tits in the 80s. That's what I remember the most about it, or the 90s,
Wait,
whenever
you're
it was
saying
made.
Tara Reid had a good performance?
No, 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 no. This she was a child actress at this point, so
Oh,
it
okay.
was like she had like three lines, and then she laid down in a coffin and like screamed because she was burning alive, and nothing that great. Much better performance than Urban Legend, which is another one I watched
The
because it
fun,
was a
fun,
classic.
super fun slasher.
I
Right in the
I
pocket of
do
those
you feel
90s
like
slashers we were talking about.
we had Final Cut, which I liked. I think Final Cut came to theaters. I don't think the third one came to theaters. Do you feel like now we could go back
I'm
and
kind of
do a Urban Legend remake?
why don't I that's the thing is I'm like, what does a remake even mean of that franchise? I'm just like, no, yeah, just absolutely. Yes, Urban Legend, just do it again. It doesn't have to be a remake of the first film or have any kind of a legacy sequel ties. We don't need Alicia Witt like coming back in.
No, no,
Although,
no.
like, I mean, if she wants to, cool, whatever.
You mean we
But
can't get Jared Leto to come back in? We can't get Paul to come back, reprise his role as Paul?
did
Come
he
on, man.
survive?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought everybody got iced except for her at the end. But
No, it
okay,
was the two of them, and then like they threw Rebecca Gayheart out of the car, like into the river or whatever, when they crashed, and then she
okay.
just miraculously shows up at the next college.
But yeah, no, I'm like that concept of just like let's take urban legends and then like make them those are the kills. I mean, did we run out of urban legends? Is that the thing?
I don't think so. I feel well. See, that's the thing. Like, you could update. Are there new ones that like kids who say things like Riz and Cap? Are there ones that they've come up with that we don't know about? Like, is there something that new millennials don't like? You could put
I think
Slenderman
there's
stuff in there.
well,
You
that's what I was
know?
gonna say. I think there's something to and maybe urban legends doesn't like work as a title anymore. But yeah, there's definitely something to and not I mean there's been plenty of movies that have already done it, but like a mainstream one to maybe play around with a lot of like stuff that has all this deep internet lore, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
the back rooms or like Slender Man and like all all these different analog horror series and stuff that have gotten really big on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Um speaking of which, like some of the scariest stuff I've seen recently has been random shit on YouTube like this year.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that,
Short
that thing
horror
that you posted
films, like
recently, Noah, was
ongoing
pretty
stuff.
creepy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was pretty good.
Well, thank you. But yeah, so I could see something like in that vein, like, you know, the new urban legends that are more internet lore based and stuff, that
Mm-hmm.
people are tap into, weird subcultures, etc. I think that could be cool. But yeah, that's a fun one. I've never gone back to Final Cut. Did they like I know it's a film school and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is the whole is the same conceit there where it's like the kills are still based off of
Yeah.
new urban legends or like the extended
Mm-hmm.
urban legends
Yeah,
glossary
because
we're not familiar with?
that one has the whole waking up in a bath of ice and your kidneys gone
With your
thing.
organs, I
Yeah.
thought that was in the first one, but you're
No, that
right.
was
Okay.
the second one. Yeah.
All right.
Um, I don't know if anybody was in it. I feel like it's the same thing, and I'll throw it in here too. I watched. I still know what you did last summer. I feel like it and Urban Legend kind of it has this like symbiosis of they both had like two movies that came out in theaters, and the second ones were just like, okay, well that's that. But then they had a third one that was released, and it was just like, what do we do with this? Put it on DVD. You
Well,
know?
and then yeah, when that was still an option,
Yeah.
kind of the tail end of that still being a
Hmm.
popular option.
Right.
Supposedly the I Know series is coming back.
But then
Supposedly they're
they
supposedly it's
did
getting the like a sequel treatment. They did a series on Amazon, which I
it
don't think
has
was
nothing
particularly
tangentially like.
yeah, I don't think it was particularly well received. I don't think it had anything no tied to the franchise. Not that I'm aware of. Uh
Speaking of that, did you know that Lois Duncan's daughter was like murdered?
Yes.
She didn't
And
know for the
I
longest time. They
I
just
also know that I have the oddest sense of deja vu that we've definitely talked about this on a prior
no, we have it
October
on a pro.
episode.
I talked about it down at the beach when you were there because I mentioned it to Becky when I was finishing up watching that. But I don't think we
We've
talked about it on it. I don't think we have.
definitely spoken about Lois Duncan. But go ahead by all
But not
means.
about no. I just they I think there was like a guy who recently
Yes.
confessed.
Oh, that there was an update. Yeah, I don't. Yes,
Yeah, he recently
I don't.
confessed. I just
I
didn't
don't
know
know if
that
we
like
talked
that was
about
a
that.
thing because I remember I've read all those like Killing Mr. Griffin, Ransom, and um I know it's Jail Last Summer and all that. It's like there's or and Don't Look Behind You, and it's like there's a lot of stuff that happens, but nobody like dies, and it's like oh well that's why like shit this happened to her daughter. She's not gonna write teen fiction where like there are people dropping left and right. You
Yeah,
know, she's not a horror writer. She's a young adult writer. But anyway, yeah, I'd be
that
interested to see
kids.
that.
If there's any kids listening, that is a movie that will screw you if you try and use it as cliff notes. Just keep that in mind.
Yes,
Keep that in mind. Uh,
that and the Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel. Not accurate in the slightest.
I mean, mo I'm gonna go the spoilers, kids. Most most movies can't use them as cliff notes,
Except for Shawshank.
except for maybe To Kill a Mockingbird and No Country for Old Men. That is it.
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, they're gonna do a book report on a short story.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I want to go to this high school
Forrest Gump, you
where
can't
they're
do it.
letting me. Okay. Uh, what else are we gonna recommend to our esteemed colleague here?
Um, I did watch In a Violent Nature. That
Okay, so that was
was,
a first timer for Gavin. I saw it in the theater earlier this year. Brendan, I don't know if we talked about this one. The conceit is, what if you hung out with Jason the whole time?
yeah, I know that was pretty good.
What if you never left him? What if it wasn't about the kids getting slashed up? What if it was about what he's doing in the meantime? But yeah, that's the
Which is a
conceit. It's
lot of walking.
basically, yeah, you stick with the slasher the whole time. I don't know if that sounds interesting or compelling to you, but I
No, no,
will tell you
I think it does sound
as
interesting, but I'll tell
um,
you why on the Jason side it wouldn't sound interesting.
I, yeah,
I was waiting for you to finish. Yeah, I mean,
I mean you were in the middle of a thought, so I was
if
waiting
I was
for you
following
to finish your
Ghostface,
thought.
if I was following Ghostface, that'd be entertaining. But if I,
That's a thought for the Scream franchise to go that way, where it's like, hey, we're gonna Shyamalan it, and guess what? The twist for this one is we're gonna tell you who the killer is
right
from
off
the
the bat,
opening scene, and then the entire tension of the movie is going to be you know it, and the characters don't. That's definitely
yeah, I like that thought. That'd
something
be
I'm kind of shocked that they've never played with, but
fun.
would
Following Jason, I feel like I mean he moves so slow, dude. I'd just be bored.
I was just giving you contextually like what it's in the neighborhood of. But
Yeah,
Johnny, I believe is his name in A Violent Nature, is a whole new, hopefully horror icon. I know they want to do a sequel. And I thought as an intro, I thoroughly went for it. Our cousins, or at least Patrick, who obviously they are more Friday the 13th, more you know, they're bigger fans of that franchise than we are. Let's put it that way. Uh, he was quite disappointed by it, and we didn't go into detail why, but I'm curious if that had anything to do with it because for me it was like, well, this is like, sorry to, step on anybody's toes. This is like, what if they made Friday the 13th but good? That's
Yeah.
kind of what I thought it was. And then it also just straight up best kill of the last decade.
Oh, dude, the
Yeah, I mean,
and
and
the
I'm not a gorehound kill
no, me neither.
guy, but just from a pure practical perspective, that's the coolest kill I've seen in a movie in a
In a
long ass
long
time.
time. Yeah.
It was one of those. So, Gab, I was in a relatively packed theater, and it was one of those where you already have your seat in advance, and I see that like I had already pre-purchased my ticket, but I see that night, like all of a sudden, I got somebody on my side. I'm like, all right, and it's a couple. And so I get there and, movie's playing for a bit. And that scene happens. And both of us have like the same reaction in the moment of just like, oh no. Oh no. Oh, rip. Okay. And it was very much a like, oh, we're simpatico now. We're on the same page. And then we
Mm.
proceeded to have a really great time for the rest of the movie, like together, just chuckling at all the right parts when everybody else was repulsed. What a fun time. I had a great time with that one. It is available on Shudder. Big recommend from Gavin and I. In
Mhm.
a Violent Nature from director Chris Nash. Yeah, good time. Uh, a
Yeah, this
big
was one that Perk wanted to go see, and I was like, I can only get out for one movie, and I'm gonna go see Civil War instead.
I mean, I think you made the right choice there, but
I would have liked to see it on the big screen, but it would, and I should have gone with him because I feel like he would have loved it, and if I had more time to get over to there and talk to him about it, I'm sure he would have. If he didn't go in theaters, he's probably watched it on streaming and probably really loves it because that's his. Jason is his whole like yeah, he loves Michael Myers and all that, but like Jason is his whole like that's his whole
that's his
deal.
guy. That's
Yeah.
his
Would you
guy.
do if you follow the Jason or the Michael Myers or whatever? Would you do a point of view, first person?
I mean, I don't
I
know.
mean, there.
This is more like a third person video game. Like you're just over the shoulder and you're watching him just kind of move through. And I appreciate that a lot more because I was telling my mom and Becky about it. I was like, there's like you don't have to pay attention to anything. You don't have to listen to anything. You just watch this guy do his thing, or you can listen to what's going on because it'll be like he's in the foreground. There's something way in the background, or he's like up front. There's something in the way of like the foreground slash background because it's off. It's up in the left corner of the screen, and there's people talking, and they're telling you all the stuff you need to know, but they're not on screen. So you can be like, oh, okay, well, it is kind of justifiable for why this dude is this if you listen to the backstory at all. Or you could just be like, I don't know what happened. Somebody took this pendant, and boom, this thing came out of the ground, and now it's just killing motherfuckers. And it's so simple in that it's like you can pay attention to like how well they made it and appreciate it, or you can just sit back and watch and be like, this is dope, dude. This guy made a dope ass kill, and I want to watch the next one and the next one and have no context for why it's happening and still be like, this is pretty neat just from a visual, not even listening to stuff. And
Yeah.
that's the thing I think is like unnerving is that it's wide angle shots. It's in nature, but it's like again the pun in a violent nature. It's out in nature, but it's like that's even scarier than anything else. It's like there's like wide places, plenty of places for you to run and hide, and this dude is still just like cutting people down left and right like it's nothing. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the
Okay.
beautiful things
Yeah.
about it.
Side note on you know, the inescapable killer. We've mentioned Michael a couple times. I think I sent you the trailer for Retro Realms Halloween slash Ash versus Evil Dead, which is a new 16-bit platformer, which is available right now on pretty much every console.
Yeah, you did to me that.
Yeah. So you've got a Halloween game and an Ash versus Evil Dead game, but then you can cross-pollinate. So you can play as Michael in the Evil Dead game. And
Hmm.
then if you bought them bundled together like I did, you can also like play as Laurie through the Halloween game instead of
Hmm.
Michael. Anyways, I've almost beaten Halloween as Michael for the first time. I'm playing at a very slow pace. It essentially plays like Mega Man, like it's
Hmm.
very like pixel specific. Like it's tough, like especially in the later stages. But so much fun. I had to bring this up. One of the key mechanics that you kind of have to master is what is called his shadow step. But it's essentially like, oh, this is how he closes gaps or whatever. But you hold down and you press X and he just teleports like a little bit further. But you have to like judge the distance because you don't want to like teleport into something that's about to hit you or like blah blah blah.
Right.
Anyways, also, Gap, the health power-ups are the green goo from six.
Jesus.
Come on, man. It's
Dude.
so it's so perfect. Like you would love it. It's a great time. And I haven't even touched the Ash versus Evil Dead game yet, but it looks like a blast as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so when you go into the game, last thing I'm gonna say about it, little video game corner. When you start up the game, you walk into this old, like derelict 80s arcade. There's only two machines, those two games, but there are more machines with covers over them,
Hmm.
implying essentially that like if these do well and then they can acquire more licenses, we're going to get a nightmare of Friday the 13th. what I'm really hoping for, a Hellraiser in this style. You got to play these. 25 bucks if you want to buy them individually, 50 to get the bundle.
Hmm.
Plug, plug, plug. Retro Realms, Halloween, Ash vs. Evil Dead.
This episode of the ARK of E brought to you by Retro Games. Oh, or
Oh,
Retro, whatever you want to call them, yeah.
Retro Realms. Yes.
Realms. Retro Realms, yeah.
So,
Um, so I got basically, there's probably, I would say, two more big ones I want to hit, and then I'll give you a blast of like a couple ones that I watched that are like I'd recommend, but they're not great. The next real big one, um, Late Night with the Devil, I thought was really, really good.
so I saw this in
Like a
theaters.
yeah.
I'm glad you got to. I have my list kind of demarcated of like I need to shout these out to Gavin if he has not gotten to them yet.
Hmm.
Late Night with the Devil is been available on Shudder. I believe it is newly available on Hulu as of last week.
Yeah, that's where I caught it.
Huge recommend from both of us. I mentioned The Substance earlier. Basically, The Substance, this, and one other film that might come up later are kind of circling my top slot as far as horror goes. This shit was basically, I mean, I was in the bag for it before I even walked into the theater, and
Hmm.
then it just like scratched all my itches. But essentially, uh, it is quote unquote found footage, but it's a lost TV broadcast from the 70s of a late night like Carson competitor. Uh, on the Halloween evening broadcast when this guy brings out several different supernatural adjacent people to explore like paranormal, etc. There's a mentalist, there's a guy who debunks stuff, there's a little girl who may or may not be possessed by the devil. And then in between all of this, we have the behind the scenes like ongoings, which gives us a chance to break out of the like TV show format and kind of broaden the movie visually, but it all stays within that 70s aesthetic um, of just like a public access broadcast. And then without spoiling anything, I mean, it's right there in the title, The Late Night with the Devil, from the get-go, from the opening like 5, 10 minutes, when they start see, I think the first time they mentioned the Grove,
Yep.
Gavin,
I
you
was like,
know, I
oh
was
no.
just like, oh, dude, yeah, dude, there's got to be, wait, are you telling me there might be a cult element? Are you telling me we might see some people in robes gathering? Are you telling me that we might see an owl of some sort? You pretty much you have me at an 8 already. I mean, it's just
Oh
like
no,
just I was
when
like,
it
you
was
don't have to
Michael
do any
Ironside, Michael
doing the
Ironside doing the
narration.
voiceover
Yes,
narration, I was like, I'm fucking this movie's gonna be amazing.
dude, absolutely. Our boy Dave Desmalchin crushing it in the lead. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think I that elevates it, and it's like I've gone back to it once since it's been on Shudder, and I think this will be like an annual gotta do
Oh
it.
yeah, definitely.
The supporting performances in this movie, particularly the skeptic,
What
who
else has he been in?
I had never seen in anything to my knowledge.
He
I'm
no,
gonna
he's been
look
in
him up. I'm gonna
he's been
shout
in
him out.
something else.
But
He had
also
to be.
his buddy and
No, no,
band
no, no.
leader.
What? He is the one in the Matrix that Smith becomes in the real world. He's the one from the Matrix that when Smith gets into him and reloaded or whatever, and he starts cutting his face. It's that same actor. It has to be. I'm shitting you. It has. It has to be
You
that
really
guy.
want
Yeah.
to
Is it?
throw that out there?
I don't know his name. I'm just saying. Like I
You are
know.
100% correct. He is in fact Bane from the
That's it.
Matrix sequels. 100%.
I'm just. I. It was one of those like I know he's from
The
something.
actor's name is Ian Bliss, and yeah, he absolutely crushes it. He is the skeptic on the show who is just like left and right, just like, I don't buy it. Here's why. Here's how I can disprove
Oh
said
yeah.
thing. Um, and it just escalates from there. And then yeah, his band leader as well. I thought
Oh
I
yeah.
was
That
just
dude.
like I was just like these are I was like the the attention to detail and the period aesthetic, all of that sort of just like nailing the vibe. And again, dude, I can't. It was already like firing on all cylinders, and then that last like 5, 10 minutes when it goes
Mm-hmm.
dreamy, for lack of a better, without spoiling anything, I was just over the moon for it. Has mom watched this one?
I don't think so.
It was on my list to also make sure that she knows that it's on AMC Plus and Shudder, and she can watch it easily because I think she would love this. Dude, hell yeah. Late Night with the Devil. Glad you saw that one. Uh, one of our shared faves. I know also a friend of the pod, Evan Tuig, had a great time with that one as well. Um, I would like to shout out one that I need you to watch as well. You have to go to YouTube for this.
Okay.
It's called Milk and Cereal, and we will discuss it on our next October episode before the end of the month.
Yes.
It is basically feature length, but it's a short. It's like an hour and 15, 20 minutes.
Hmm.
You will recognize these guys because I've sent you some of their content on Instagram.
Hmm.
They're a comedy duo for the most part. They're the That's a Bad Idea guys.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Blonde haired dude. There's the one guy who's always the straight guy,
Yeah.
kind of traditionally handsome, brown hair or whatever, and then there's the fucking weirdo, blonde haired dude who is, spoiler alert, the writer and director behind most of all of this stuff. I did not realize they make horror shorts as well. And they have
Hmm.
quite a few on their YouTube channel. This was the most expansive one by far. Uh, Literally, like, could have released it in a theater, and I probably would have been telling you that maybe it's the best found footage movie in a long time.
Hmm.
Uh, it's so good. Milk and cereal. Cereal spelled like serial killer, not cereal
Right.
like you eat. Uh, Go in cold. All you need to know is it's two guys doing a YouTube prank show, and it doesn't go as planned.
Hmm.
Okay, please watch this, brother. I think you will have a quite a fun time.
Hmm.
But again, watch with like absolutely no context. That one's on YouTube. Huge
Okay.
recommend to everybody. Uh, Also, while you're on YouTube, if you're in the found footage mode after that, butterfly kisses.
Okay.
One of the better found footage, uh, like Slender Man adjacent sort of things. It has nothing to do with Slender Man, but it is a Slender Man-esque figure, known as Peeping Tom. It's this, you go to this spot, you look down this bridge. If you stare for an hour without blinking, Peeping Tom appears. But once he does, every time you blink, he gets just a little bit closer to you.
Okay. No, thank you.
Dude, great fucking setup, right?
Yeah, I know that's worked. Yeah.
I literally just described it to you. Um, this was a very pleasant surprise. It's on a lot of lists when I start going for like that, what's that deeper layer of like, what have I not seen? Very effective. Uh, Not heavy on the jump scares. There's one or two, but really like kind of sucks you into the narrative. I really, really dug that one. That's a good double feature. Milk and Cereal, Butterfly Kisses, both available on YouTube.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Did you catch Night Swim?
So Night Swim was on my list of like, do I want to have fun with one that I know is not gonna be like, eh. And I just haven't gotten to it yet. And we're kind of late in the game. We only got a week left. So
Yeah.
should I make time for Night Swim? I know it's got our boy. I wanted this to be rated R. That's really all I that if it had been rated R, I would have watched it, regardless of critical response. I see
I mean,
PG-13, I get a little reticent.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those where like if you've got other things to put it off to whenever. It's not a big. It's a backgrounder, interesting. It's one of those where like, oh, he's a baseball player. Oh, because is it because that? Oh, well, his dad was. It's like it's kind of like if you know things about Kurt and and Wyatt and all that. It's like, oh, I get it. Like maybe he was supposed to be a hockey player, but he said, actually, I kind of want to make it baseball like my dad. Because I think I told you about it, but it's like if you think about it, it's like two sports injuries are the reasons why we have these guys. It's like some of the Kurt Russell, the only reason he's like even in the movies is because like he had a sports injury and couldn't play baseball anymore. Same thing with Wyatt. It's like couldn't play hockey anymore, and now he's here. Uh, just to say that you've seen him and everything, check it out whenever. It's nothing I would have to, you don't have to put it in there, but it wasn't bad. It was just one of those, like you said, if you make it rated R, you push it to February, maybe March. I think it just got dumped in January because they didn't know what to do with it. And it's like the premise of, oh, it's a haunted swimming pool. It's like, if you what's actually going on in the explanation. And it's like I can understand that, that it's not that maybe it's not just a pool, maybe it's
This is,
something from
I was gonna
before
say, this is one of those I've had vaguely spoiled for me. Like I know kind of where it goes
Yeah,
beyond
yeah.
the obvious setup. And that where it goes kind of intrigued me where I was like, actually, I think I'll make time for that one at some point,
Hmm.
but we'll see. I'm not mentioning a lot of the obvious rewatches that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
we seem like we hit every year, so I'm just kind of skipping over
Oh
those.
no, dude, I'm constantly trying to find
But
new stuff or like
yeah,
I
I've
went back and
really this year I have really made a conscious effort to like I'm trying to watch at least like if I just did a rewatch, I try and do something new afterwards or vice versa. I'm trying to like
right.
do one for
Hmm.
one almost.
And
Um,
again, I will shout out again. We probably do it everything. If you are looking for stuff and you don't trust us, and you have Shutter or AMC Plus, just go throw on In Search of Darkness, Part 3. It's 5 hours long.
yeah,
If you can't find one new one to watch in that, you're doing it wrong.
or do the 101 scariest movie moments update
Right.
that they did. There's also the Horror's Greatest
Yep.
series that ran in September that goes through
Hmm.
a lot of subgenres. That was very fun, especially the Japanese one. Huge
Yeah.
recommend. Uh, oh, I wanted I wanted to talk about this one for just a second because you recommended it, I believe, last year, and I finally got to it. From Beyond
Oh
from
yeah.
Stuart Gordon,
Uh-huh.
the follow-up to Reanimator with basically
Hmm.
all the same crew, plus Ken Foree. You didn't
Yeah, that
mention I
was
get,
that.
yeah,
That's
dude.
why yeah.
This was an absolute blast. Just like
Hmm.
so much goop and so much latex, and I had a great time with it. Dude, Barbara Crampton, what a champ, dude.
Is she not the best?
She'll just go with whatever,
And
man.
she's
And they
fuck, dude. I told you
always
she's
put
in
her through the
Chopping Mall.
ringer.
She's in
Um,
Chopping Mall too, dude. It's so
she's
that
great.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I love all her segments on In Search of Darkness. She's awesome.
Yeah. And one of the best, just like she knows exactly her place in the genre, and she's like, I fucking love it. Like I
Hmm.
know 100% who I am. Uh, so that was a nice new one for me. This is like I feel like we never really talk about this era of movies at all, especially when it comes to Arctober. I went back and like when I told this to mom, she was like shocked I'd never seen it. Peacock has all of the Universal monster
Hmm.
movies.
Yeah.
I watched Bride of Frankenstein for the first time. What a
Hmm.
fucking incredible movie that
Yes.
it's like, I don't know where I was just like, oh yeah, the reason that like, people still put it on the list, shocker, it's so fucking good. When nobody told me, dude, first 10 minutes, Frankenstein rolls up on the parents of the girl who he drowned in the first movie. He drowns the father, climbs out of the wreckage of the burnt like church steeple, whatever they burnt down at the end of the first movie, climbs out of the wreckage of that after drowning the father, and the mother is at the top looking around like 'cause she was waiting for the husband to go investigate, see what happens. And he chucks her down the same fucking well. She dies like instantly, supposedly drowns there. And I was like, what the like nobody told me like this is the heights that it hits immediately. And I was just like, dude, James Whale was like on one, dude. That movie, it looks incredible. And I also didn't realize I was like, oh, the whole movie is just a build up to the bride who you see for literally like 3 minutes at the end of the movie, and then climax, and it's over. And I was riveted the whole time. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It's gorgeous. The performances are great. It's kind of like hilariously campy, deeply heartfelt when he gets into the section of like he meets the blind guy who becomes his friend, but then
Hmm.
like these two dudes off the street just come in and they're like, we don't really like that people read into all this like gay subtext of it, like we don't like two men living together and this is unnatural, and so they break it up and like all that stuff. And then there's the whole Pretorius versus Frankenstein like relationship where he's trying to pull him away from his wife to like, hey, come do weird experiments with me. And like that whole subtext, dude, I was just like, there's so much going on here. I can't believe I never watched it. this will be a perennial classic. I will watch this like every other year for
It's
October. What a
yeah,
good time.
it adds so much more depth to when like you especially what you were just talking about with like the old blind man when you watch like Young Frankenstein and the I was gonna put on
Oh, what?
espresso. Like it's like of course, like that's why that's funny. That's what because it's like you get that here and it's like, oh yeah. Yeah, you definitely gotta do those two, Bride of Frankenstein, like together and then again,
It's yeah,
I would cap it
it
with
was
Young
just
Frankenstein
so,
after that
I
just
was
'cause.
genuinely blown away by how fun, self-aware, and subversive it was for a movie of its time where I was just like, I didn't know. I was like, this literally, these jokes play right
Mm-hmm.
now. This is like, this hasn't aged a day. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the special effects in it, not even the makeup. I'm talking about like when Pretorius first shows up and he's got the shrunken, he's like, well, I've learned to create life. I just can't make it big. I can only do these little guys. And
Mm-hmm.
it's these, super old, cheap effects, but they look amazing in black and white and in context and everything. And I'm just like, oh, there's little people like dancing on his desk. That's amazing. Um,
Hmm.
a total blast. That was just a huge
Yeah.
blind spot for me. I'm glad I finally cleared it up. And again, all of those are on Peacock because obviously Universal. So there you go. Last one I want to shout out. I feel like this finally came up between the two of us last year, but it is now more readily available for people to see. This was a blind buy, as I did with Cruising recently as well. Possession from 1981. Sam Neill, Isabel and
Mm-hmm.
Johnny.
Yep.
It is now readily available on Shudder. And if you haven't seen it, um, huge recommend. Very intense movie, uh, very unique, but I got even more out of it a second time. This will be a regular on the docket. Yeah, great movie. That's really all I specifically wanted to shout out earlier tonight. Uh, Afternoon into the evening. I did watch The Exorcist, which is always a great one to bring up because the more and more I go back to it, and I kind of realized this when old Billy Friedkin passed, I believe that was tail end of last year, or was that earlier this year? I don't even remember.
Probably the
Uh,
end of last year.
but the more and more I think about it, I'm just like, mom showing me that movie at age 9, it is by far, while it may not be like long term my favorite movie ever made, I think it is the single most important to my like filmic life or whatever. My life as a cinephile, wherever you want to put it. It is the text of like it's horror and it is 70s like grounded character work is basically like the two things that I gravitate towards most, which is just like gritty 70s movies and things that are scary. Uh, those are kind of my sweet spots. And I was just like, yeah, it's really all right here. It's all just baked into this one movie. My entire personality as a film goer, it's kind of all here. I'm just looking for things that scratch any of these itches that are stimulated by this movie. And every time I go back to it, it just hits over and over again. And I'm also very happy to see the standard streaming version is back to being the theatrical version and not the version you've never seen before. I know mom loves her crab walk. I do not like the crab walk. I do not like
Yeah.
I don't like the added Pazuzus. I like the two core Pazuzus and that's it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so that's where I'm at. And I did Hereditary last night. So
Okay.
I've
I've
been
got
trying
a
to I since we didn't go through chronologically, you didn't really get to see the structure, but I've been doing a lot of like double features essentially,
yeah,
where I do
yeah.
similar pairings or actors that cross over, but I've been trying to kind of like daisy chain this together where it all
Hmm.
kind of makes a flowy sense of some sort.
No, that makes sense. I've got because I've got like let's see here. We can how about we do this? I'm gonna give you the three or the four new three or four new
I
ones that I've just
I
caught, and we'll save our
what
Maxine discussion for the next go round
we
because
can definitely do that because
I watched
I plan on
I want to watch it
rewatching it.
again.
I saw it in the theaters. I plan on rewatching it.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm perusing real quick. I was gonna say by all means, because I'm waiting to hear from. I gave you like three that I don't think you've heard of before. I
Okay.
need that new rec from my brother.
Did you ever see The Cursed? It's on Hulu.
I did not.
Um, it is. trying to think. I can't remember the actress's name. Anyway, it's set in like Victorian England. Band of gypsies is on this guy's land. He basically gets a group together to go remove them from his land, and they're like, "Oh well, if you're gonna do this to us, we're gonna basically you and everybody after it's gonna be cursed." Shortly afterwards, it starts, you know, all this. It's pretty like what they do to these gypsies in this on this that are on this land is pretty fucked up. But the only notable person I think in there is at the end of it all, Boyd Crowder, not Boyd Crowder, Boyd
Boyd
Holbrook.
Holbrook,
Why am I thinking Boyd Crowder? He shows
because
up.
Boyd Holbrook was on Justified City Prime Evil
That's right.
as the new
Um,
villain.
right. So, but he shows up and he's like, there were gypsies on my land that I lived on, and then all of a sudden all these people started dying. I think I may know what's going on here. Let me help you. But it's all set in like late 1700s, early 1800s England on an estate. Um, but some of like the most like creepy creature stuff going on, but all
Okay.
tied back to like cursed and gypsy stuff is on Hulu. I was like, this may be garbage, but I watched it. And I was like, you know what? This is actually like a decent like creature, like the the visual thing they had to put on the poster. The thing from the trailer is kind of iffy, but like what it winds up being is actually pretty neat. And I believe I don't know the actress's name. She was in uh, True Detective season 2. She's on Yellowstone, the redhead.
Kelly
Did
Riley.
not Kelly Right. That's yeah. She's in it. Um, and then there
She's
may be she's
she's not quite a scream queen, but she's got a few. Eden Lake,
yeah.
which we probably
Oh,
talked
dude,
about
I don't
before
even.
with her and
God, I don't.
Fassbender.
We can't talk about that movie.
That's a tough to stomach one, but not for the faint of heart. Um,
Yeah.
while we're mentioning it, in that vein, disappointed to see that it's not streaming anywhere because I really wanted to watch it this year. But Them, the French movie Them,
Oh yeah.
it's just a couple in the house, and
Hmm.
there's in the big old French mansion, and there's seemingly multiple people terrorizing them from outside,
Yeah.
all wearing hoods. Yeah, uh, that's a that's one.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay.
Uh,
Just yeah. What else you got here? I was gonna say to
did
wrap
you
things
see?
out. Like let's do
Did you see the
our
Final Girls?
no. This that's an Amazon Prime streamer. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Wait, is this
Uh,
new or am I thinking of something else?
it came out a little bit ago. It's not brand
Oh,
new.
okay. No, no,
It's
no. I'm thinking of
Adam.
something else.
It's basically um. It's
Was
a
this the
last
one
action
with
hero,
was Thaisa Farmiga, right?
and Malin Ackerman and Adam
Yes,
Devine, and
essentially she knows she's a final girl. She's from a long lineage of final girls, something in that nature.
no, like her mom was a final girl. She mom passes away. They do like a celebration of this movie where her mom like isn't a final girl, but something happens while they're in the movie. Fire breaks out, and they have to escape. But when they do, magically they're in the movie, and it's like
Okay.
she gets to see her mom again. Again, it's like a last action hero type thing, but it's kind of mess. It kind of like plays with the genre of like camp movies, not in the way that like not it doesn't hit like Cabin in the Woods level of like we're gonna make fun of this on this level, but it's a neat way of like, oh well, if you're in this movie and you know this movie because you love it, like it'd be like if we stepped into Halloween and we knew what was going on and we are like,
Right.
guys, listen, we can solve everything. But then like, does the movie let you do that? Because there's multiple times where they're like, we gotta get out of here, and they just keep running in a loop and they just keep showing back up. It's like, oh, the movie won't let us leave, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Really cute. I mean, it's not a hard recommend. If you got time, it's fun, but it's not anything like it doesn't define the genre or anything or like do anything brand new. But it's still like just a fun one that I was like, I'll give it a shot. If it's not good after 10 minutes, I'll just get rid of it. But there was enough after that 10 minutes. I was like, you know what? Just for the fake movie trailer they've made alone of what I'm gonna get into, I kind of want to watch this thing. And it was actually pretty decent.
All right.
Um, the only other new one I could say besides that, new to me that I've seen, um, did you see The Stranger with Micah Monroe and Dean DeHaan or Dean, whatever his name is?
Dane DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan, Micah
Um,
Monroe. she's new in town. She's an Uber driver. She picks this guy up, and it's
This
like
was a
he just.
series that was like stitched together as a movie, is that correct?
I don't know. I just saw The Stranger on Hulu, and I watched the movie all as one. It might have been at some point. I just watched it because she was in the trailer, and then Hulu does that thing where it's like, "Oh, you watched the trailer, now you got to watch the movie," and it's like, okay, and so
There's
yeah,
shockingly a lot of movies called The Stranger.
I know, right?
It is in fact a TV series. It was a Quibi. It was a Quibi back in the
Really,
Pandy. Yeah, the little short
really.
form app. Yeah. So they took all of these, the app has completely failed, but they took a lot of these and they stitched them together. Like they have like a new version of The Fugitive or The Bionic Man or something. I don't
Hmm.
know. But like, yeah, they took a lot of these and just stitched
Wow,
them together.
that's great. I had no idea. I thought it was just a straight up movie.
Yeah, no, what you were watching was 13 8-minute episodes
Oh
stitched
my
together.
God. Hey man,
So
that's the. Now I just want to know where they were cut at because that's kind of neat.
yeah, I mean, I guess if it
Just
if
knowing
it
like
felt
just
seamless, it felt seamless. That's
no,
good.
no, it totally did. But I'm also thinking now, like, where would I have cut to like make somebody want to watch the next little 8 minutes? But yeah, no, that's
Interesting.
pretty
Yeah.
neat idea. Again,
Um,
nothing crazy. I watched it for her because like I was like, I've been saying like, oh yeah, she's like the new horror girl, and then of course we'll talk about her in Maxine. I was like, when Becky and I watched, I was like, actually, Becky, I think Mia Goth's like the new horror girl, and just with
oh
like
no,
everything she's
it's Micah. After
yeah.
Long Legs, it's definitely Micah.
Yeah, and I still I'm gonna have to watch that before I'm gonna try and catch that
And the
before we
fact
get
that
done.
and the fact that They Follow
Oh,
is
dude, I
is
just saw the
coming
yeah, dude. I
next year. So
what and
yeah,
what I mean, we don't. That's the thing. We don't have anybody like that. Like we our generation hasn't, but we don't still have like your Barbara Crampton. Like famously, yes, Jamie Lee Curtis came back to this genre when it suited her. But like as soon as she got, Trading Places, Fish Called Wanda, whatever, she
well,
was
like
out.
if
She
you
was an actress. She's an
right, and
actress.
if you think about it, somebody like a Nev Campbell or a Jennifer Love Hewitt, it's like they were tied to that franchise. It's not like Nev Campbell went off and made 20 other horror movies. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Hmm.
So, um, yeah,
So for her to be in
you don't
multiple
even really
ones,
have that. So that's why I'm saying like, yeah, those are the people that do stand out more are the Micah Monroes who've been like, no, I've been doing this for a while, and a lot of people have pointed this out recently, and I'll leave this as the last one because I'm going to tell you, because I already mentioned it to mom. I am planning on I'm gonna rent this one so I can rewatch it, but I'm gonna try and time it out so that y'all can as well. One of my favorite films of the year, Strange Darling,
mm,
starring uh New Stream King, Mr. Kyle Gallner, who we've been
hmm,
rooting for
yeah,
personally since Red State, Kevin Smith's Red State.
yeah,
Uh
okay,
and I've always been a huge fan of. So, and he's having a moment between the Smile franchise,
yep.
Strange Darling, and
I did
a
like
lot of
Smile.
other. I finally watched Smile. I didn't bring it up on this list because I liked it in as much as it reminded me of a lot of like it's a little bit of The Ring, it's a little bit of It Follows, a little Final Destination, all swirled together. I like the vibe, I like the conceit. I thought it was a little too long,
Hmm.
but that last 10 minutes got me there. So I will say I'm intrigued to see the second one, but I also didn't like rush out in theaters to go see it.
Right.
Uh, yes. So that's how I felt about that one. Overall, though, I mean, I liked it all right. I liked it more than I thought I was going to. I kind of avoided that one just based on the trailer because I was just like, this is just not my vibe.
That and the viral
Uh,
campaign around it, I was just like, all right, like you're trying too hard. If you
but
can't
uh,
sell a movie post COVID as
but
like go
yeah,
back to the
but I
movies to watch a movie, but like, yeah, I get it.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. So, but yeah, Strange Darling, huge recommend to anybody whose transit has crossed, but do not look up anything about it. Just go in cold
Have
and
you seen
have
Abigail yet?
a good time. I did.
It's on Peacock. You saw it?
Yes.
Should I watch it? I mean, it's got my boy, so I don't know.
Um,
I might
no,
have to.
I personally, this late in the game, no.
Okay.
I would wait till like November 1st if you got a little bit of the Arctober hangover going.
I can't. I gotta do Bad Boys on Netflix. It's on the new Bad Boys is on Netflix. I got it November 1st. It's my first one.
Okay.
Ride or die. I gotta do it. So
Well,
I may have to go
I
back.
would not deny you that, but no, I do not think you need to rush
All
to
right.
Abigail. Uh, I will say the same for Cuckoo as well, if that was on your radar.
No.
Both movies that have two great, totally locked in Dan Stevens performances in otherwise fairly uninteresting to frustrating movies. Cuckoo, much preferred to Abigail. Abigail, I actively disliked. Cuckoo, I was just a little like wanted a little more from it.
Yeah.
But
And
he's
then I
but he's great in both. And
that's and see
he's
therein
going,
lies
dude, he's going hardcore, like New York, like 70s detective, like I'm in Serpico or something in Abigail. And then in Cuckoo, he's doing like I am German scientist and I talk like this and it's fucking great, dude. He's having an absolute ball. I don't know if he is picking the best projects, but I think he is like I can have fun doing that. I don't think he really like maybe is looking at the full picture of what he's going to be in, but I think he's like I can crush that. I'm going to go in. I'm going to do my thing. And that's what he's doing. And I mean, yeah. But you
I
don't need
think
to rush to Abigail.
okay.
No.
It's a catch 22 because I want to watch it because he's in it. But if I watch stuff and he's in it and he's great, but it's terrible, I'm like, well, you could have been doing the guest too,
That
you
okay,
know?
so that's one of the things with Abigail, for instance, is it's like anytime you take a movie and you take some people that I really enjoy and then you kind of just under deliver, I'm always a little extra frustrated because I'm like,
Hmm.
well, shit, I was here for my guy and you didn't even let my guy cook, you know?
Exactly.
It's an Ethan Hawke in fucking Leave the World Behind scenario all over again.
Yeah.
Just to shit on that movie once again. I had to do
Yeah.
it because I know Evan is listening, and Evan, last time we talked on the phone, was like, "Hey, me and Sam watched it, really good time." And then I had to relitigate the whole conversation that you and I had on the year-end episode.
Are you talking about Evan too, or are you talking about Evan Glodell, the filmmaker who was supposed to give us
I
Chuck
really,
Hank, the San,
yo, Evan Glodell,
Hank
if you're
between
listening,
Chuck, Hank,
let me get that
and
Chuck
the
Hank. Let me get that
San Diego twins?
let me get that canary. Let me get that
Please,
canary, please.
something, bro. I feel like it. I feel like a fiend. Like just let me look at it. Just let me look at pictures of you looking at it. That's fine. I just want to know it exists
Dude,
because there's been some people who are
can
trying
we
to do.
can we get a short out? Can you
Yeah,
can you give me a short? I'll pay $5 to go watch it. Like
yeah,
give me something. All right.
yeah.
I didn't know we were gonna get there, but apparently we did. Coat Wolf, what happened to you? Okay. This has been Arctober 2024 update number 1. The plan is to get back on here just prior to the big night.
Yeah, we're
And
gonna do picture this. It's October 30th. It's about 10:30 at night. We sit down, we turn on the recorders, and we start talking horror movies that we've seen. None of the old stuff, so we'll go back and mark out what we talked about, all fresh, all ready to be discussed for approximately 2.5 hours. So
yeah,
then Noah can take all the sweet time he needs to get this thing edited. And then when you wake up on October 31st, you have a brand new part 2 ARK of E, what we've been screaming about, coming straight at you, courtesy of the Blanchard brothers. That's the plan, and if we can't stick to it, well, it'll be out in 2 weeks.
I think I had some other outro, but I think that was just about perfect. Okay. Uh Yeah. Well, I don't know what we'll talk about on the next one, but I'll watch
I still
Bodies,
got
Bodies,
some stuff.
Bodies. You we got to talk Maxine.
Yeah,
Uh,
Maxine will be the big. Let's do the
you
big
gotta.
temple. Like we're gonna do a Maxine discussion.
I need you to watch Milk and Cereal as
Yeah, I'll get
well.
them.
I think from
Those are
this
ones
year,
I can
from
put a headphone in
2020.
and watch. You
That's what
know.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
From yeah, that's the big one I want you to do.
Okay.
That's what I would like you to watch. Okay. So, you've already done Maxine. I've already done Maxine. I will do Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. You will do Milk and Cereal. We'll have a
Hmm.
nice little threefer, and we'll see what else happens in the
Yeah.
midst of it. All right.
Yeah. If you stumble across a gem, here's the thing: if you stumble on any gems, don't tell anybody about them. Throw them at them, see if they came to it organically or if it's a blind spot for them. If you come across anything you think is like, really good, we'll keep that like a bag, little bag of tricks to pull from. There's one or two and you probably got some already. You
Can
can
I
save them for them too. You
can I
know,
send you a trailer to live watch right now. It's very brief.
Yeah, I got 6% battery. Let's do this.
All right. Oh my gosh. Where's my life?
I just now see this text message from Brendan at 12:36. Phone died and it was plugged up.
Oh my gosh.
Just if anybody's wondering why you didn't hear Brendan anymore, about 30, 45 minutes ago, his phone died. He thought it was he said it was plugged up. But whatever. Maybe he'll show up for part two. Maybe we'll have more voices. Maybe it'll just be yours truly and Noah and to just talking what we saw. But again, if you like having other voices on here, if you like to hear what people have to say or think, if you like Noah explaining lots of stuff to Brendan, just the lovable goof that he is, just let us know and we'll get more of that. We'll get more of him on here. He's more than happy to come on here and just kind of have his own little thing going on, you know. And yeah.
All
So,
right. Coming through as we speak.
okay. Let's see what this is. No, go to the actual thing. Don't actually.
Is it done? I can't tell if you're a little ahead of me.
Jesus Christ, what the hell is that?
Okay. So that is a film entitled, and it's pretty much, it's very tough to search for directly on YouTube because it's in Japanese. That is a film entitled Missing Child Videotape, which comes out um, in Japan, I believe, in January. But
Yeah,
I've
like
also
4 days
seen,
before my birthday.
but I've also seen a thing online when I went and tried to search deeper for it that it's going to be available through Plex on the 30th of this month, the
Huh.
day before Halloween. If that in fact holds true and there's a way to watch it online, I will gladly share that with you. This
Yeah.
is the protege of the guy who made The Ring,
I was gonna say,
the 98
did
Ring.
anybody have anything to do with it? But that makes
He
sense.
worked under him. So this is not a Ring movie, but it is. Of course, watching that trailer with no subtitles and you see a fuzzy TV, I was like, wait, is this a new sequel? What the hell is this? That trailer randomly popped up in my YouTube feed the other night. I watched it about 2 in the morning before I fell asleep. And
Hmm.
well, before I attempted to fall asleep for the next half hour, I should say. Uh, that shit looks terrifying. Yeah, we'll see. Also, did you and I, just a teaser for next episode, we got to end this. Did we ever talk about Skinamarink?
We did for like
Did
I
you
don't think
ever actually make it through it? I
I
remember you.
watched it, but we didn't. We haven't talked about it
Okay.
afterwards.
I've been heavily debating uh rewatching now that it's on Shutter, but also I don't know. I don't know if I have the time or the energy. We'll see.
Yeah,
Uh
Plex still has it showing that it's going to be January, but if for some reason that does
what
change,
is Plex?
it's just another streaming thing.
Okay. Well, when I looked it up most recently, the date was October 30th. So obviously it looks like it's adjusted to the appropriate one. So maybe not till January, but that one is definitely on my radar. And presumably probably won't get a proper release here, so you'll have to hunt for it. All right. This has been Arc.
I'm gonna check out Plex and see what they got. The app was right there. Maybe
Oh, go
it's
for it,
probably gonna
man,
have commercials, but screw it. If there might be something I can find.
dude.
I want to
Always
watch The
look,
Serpent and the Rainbow. I haven't seen that in years.
always looking for a good find. Oh, one more just weird random one. Not a huge, ended up not being as like horror specific as I'd like it to be, but it's a, I believe, Slavic or Iceland. I would have, I gotta look. It's an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast from the
Oh,
70s,
oh,
but the translated title is actually The Virgin and the Monster,
hmm,
and very like dark, atmospheric, like gothic fantasy, and kind of a very different take on the beast as well. Just from a visual standpoint, vibes for days. It wasn't necessarily as like scary as I wanted it to be, but some good late night, like creepy, creepy shit. Um,
hmm.
I enjoyed that. Also found that one on YouTube after some hunting. Hey, a lot of good stuff on there. A lot of good stuff on there.
I
Might
could see
say
why you want to move and
break
get
from the
onto the
bank.
platform.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. All right. So
All right,
until
next Wednesday, or
next Wednesday. Yeah, I
Wednesday
don't
after
know.
next.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get this up by Friday. I don't know when you
Yeah,
guys are
that'll
listening to this,
work.
but give you plenty of stuff to check out for the last week in your own respective horror
Yeah,
marathons.
we got one more full week, and then so we got a week we can watch stuff, and then we'll come back that Tuesday, Wednesday, and do one more.
Absolutely.
Leading sounds like a plan.
All right. Love you, brother. Thanks
Love
for
you too,
doing
brother.
this.
Of course.
Shit, how do we end this? I have been Noah,
And I have been Gavin.
and we've been the Blanchard brothers, and you've been listening to what we've been screaming about.
Ah!
Happy ARKTOBER, everyone. We will talk to you very soon. Good night.